You found yourself in Anchorage, Alaska with 24 hours. What should you do? Whether you're extending on from your cruise and staying a little bit longer, maybe you came early, or maybe you're passing through Anchorage on your way to another Alaskan town, or you're brand new to Alaska and you want to see what it's all about. I have compiled my top 10 Anchorage activities that I would recommend anybody do. On this list, you're going to see things from day trips that you can take, things that are right in town in Anchorage, things that are more on the expensive side, and things that are completely free. There's going to be land activities, water activities, glaciers, whatever it is that you're wanting to experience, I'm sure it is on this list. So why should you trust me? My name is Molly and I've lived in Alaska since 2008, and I love sharing all of the advice and adventures I've learned over the years with people like you. So without further ado, let's jump right in. And again, my list of 1 to 10 is not saying 1's the best or 10's the worst. It just depends on what you are looking for. I also want to say that I'm not getting paid to say any of this. These are my personal opinions, so you don't have to worry about, is this really the best thing to do in Alaska, or is she getting paid to say this? I truly stand by all of these activities, and I hope you enjoy them too. First, let's stay in Anchorage. So maybe you don't have a car, or even if you do, if you want to stay in Anchorage, you don't want to spend your time driving, I highly recommend the Coastal Trail. It's miles and miles of a paved path. It's absolutely beautiful. I always feel like I'm on vacation when I'm on the Coastal Trail. Frequently throughout the summer, we'll go on family bike rides. You can see us right there. And you have views of downtown, views of the water. It extends all the way to Kincaid Park. You could start at Kincaid Park, start at the Coastal Trail. I personally like starting downtown Anchorage, and yeah, it just goes along the water. It's very beautiful and serene. If you're wanting to rent a bike, there are a couple of relatively inexpensive options right downtown off of L Street, so check that out. If you don't want a bike, you can walk. It's a multi-use trail, so it's just very friendly for everybody. There's a couple of rolling hills, but that's about it. And you will circle around to the Westchester Lagoon, which is really beautiful. Whether you're single, a couple, or even with a family, I would say this is a family-friendly activity that you can do. There's a park that you'll hit along the way. So it's just a lot of fun, especially on a nice day. Staying in Anchorage, whether you have a car or not, you can find yourself on the top of one of our very popular mountains to hike, and that is Flat Top Mountain. This place is near and dear to my heart because it is where my husband proposed to me, 15, 16 years ago? So if you're in the mood to get out and get on a hike, I definitely recommend Flat Top. You can drive yourself. It is quite a windy, steep road to get there, but it's nothing too scary. People do it all the time, and they even do it in the winter. There's a large parking lot. It's $5 to pay. You can use your credit card, but there are companies, if you don't have a car, that bus people up. And I don't know much about it. I've never done it that way, but just know that that is an option if you're wanting to see the sights at Flat Top. So about the hike, I would say it's moderate. Is it family friendly? There are definitely going to be families going up Flat Top every day in the summer. Mine has been one of them. I think my kids were as young as 4 years old and climbing Flat Top. There is scrambling at the end, like kind of hand over foot. It gets a little bit steep, I'm not going to lie, but the views are so worth it. You just have to know what your hiking level is. You have to be honest about it. Maybe you can just get to the saddle, which is the part before you really get to the steeper scrambling part, and there's still really pretty views there. There are stairs and steps, so keep that in mind. You can find more details by just looking up Flat Top Mountain if you're interested in that. And of course, any one of these things that I am saying today, if you want more information about, I can make a specific video about each thing and go into more detail. I'm just wanting to give you a general sense of what I would recommend you do. So comment below if you are wanting more information, and maybe I can make it happen. So the other nice thing, if you're staying in Anchorage and you're just doing Flat Top Mountain, it's still it's a good hike. I would say on average, for your average person that hikes, pretty consistently, you might want to take about 2.5 hours to do the hike. But that's just in general. But the great thing is that you still have time in your day. So if you're feeling super adventurous, add on the Coastal Trail that I just said, or add on one of my top 10 favorite restaurants in Anchorage, Alaska. And to find that video, you can watch it right here. Here's a photo of me behind Flat Top Mountain doing another hike called Little O'Malley. That's a really fun one too. You can do straight from the Flat Top parking lot area. It just gives you an idea of the terrain and how beautiful it is out there. Let's venture about 25 miles outside of Anchorage to Eklutna Lake. If you're wanting to get on the water, this is my advice to you, Eklutna Lake. So the last 10 miles, no, it's going to be a little windy. It's nothing scary. And it is a very beautiful drive, but once you get there and you see the lake, this is that type of lake, that turquoise water that you've been looking for. If you want to get out on the water, there are kayaks that you can rent. And they're not all that expensive, so it's a beautiful way to get on the water. There's also over 25 miles of trails, so you can hike. Here we are on Twin Peaks hike. It's a wonderful hike. It's very steep, pretty intense, but man, the views are amazing. I'm going to keep saying that. And if you time it right, you might be able to find some blueberries along the way. August, September is typically when you would find blueberries, but every season, every year is different. So nothing can be guaranteed with that, of course. So overall, Eklutna is a great way to spend a day, have a picnic. There's not much else out there. It's a town of 70 people. So keep that in mind. Also, if you're wanting another hike, you could tag on Thunderbird Falls along with Eklutna. It's not very far from Eklutna, and it's a relatively easy hike. That would be a family-friendly hike, and it's a beautiful waterfall. There are also relatively flat trails that you can explore around Eklutna and biking trails. I would highly suggest that you do not do that on a Sunday or Monday because that's when ATVs are allowed to use those trails, so it'll get quite busy and loud and dusty. Who's ready for a day trip? Let's start with the shortest one, and that's to Girdwood, about 45 minutes south on the beautiful Seward Highway. There is so much to do in Girdwood. You can absolutely fill your day, and to be honest, my family spends a weekend typically each summer in Girdwood, either staying at Alyeska or camping because there's so much that we like to do. We just can't get it all done in one day, but it is possible. So here are my favorite things to do. First of all, there's lots of stops along the way. So before you get to Girdwood, you could stop at Beluga Point. Now, something to note here, you're not going to see beluga whales just all the time just because it's called Beluga Point. It's only a certain time of the year. It's usually about a few weeks out of the year can you see these guys, but when you can really see them. Like, they come up feet away from the shoreline. They're so cute. They look like they're smiling. Anyways, I'm rambling, but that is typically sometime in August, September area is when I've seen them there. So if you are traveling during that time, keep your eye out. So once you're in Girdwood, here is what I recommend. If you've been waiting for me to say something relaxing to do, go to the Alyeska Nordic Spa. It's new. It's only been open about a couple of years. And what it is it's all outdoors. Well, not all outdoors because there's saunas and whatnot, but the hot tubs are outside. There's cold plunges, and then there's saunas and steam rooms. And then the locker rooms are, of course, all inside. It's very nice. You can add on a massage and other services like that if you're interested in that. You could spend the whole day there, but the only thing is once you leave, I'm pretty sure you can't come back in. So you'll want to check on that. But that's a nice romantic thing to do if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for another hike, I recommend North Face. I love it so much. I did this on my birthday a couple of years ago. The great thing about North Face is that if you don't like hiking down, you can take the tram down for free. Now, you do want to check that that's still the case this year because I have heard from local Girdwoodians that is going to change and they're going to start charging for you to take the tram down. But as of right now, it is still free, and I love that. So at the top of North Face, the views are amazing. And there is also a restaurant and a bar, so you can have lunch and reward yourself for your hike. So that's really fun. The other cool thing about North Face is that if you have somebody that just physically can't do the hike or doesn't want to, they can pay and take the tram up and meet you there, or you can all take the tram up. So that leads me to my next thing. You could take the tram if hiking is absolutely not your thing, but you want to enjoy the amazing views. Then you can pay to take the tram. The tram, I think, is a bit spendy, so it's not something our family does regularly. But if you're only in Alaska for 24 hours and you want to do it, splurge and take the tram. It's worth the views. Another thing you can do when you're in Girdwood is go gold panning. The one I'm going to suggest we did as a field trip with our homeschool, and it was so awesome. There were actual legitimate gold panners back in the area where we were gold panning. So it's not your tourist trap gold panning. It's called Crow Creek Mine. It's at the end of a long road in Girdwood, and it's just something really fun to do. The buildings there are all the original buildings. The people are great. So if you've never gone gold panning before, I do recommend this place. There's too many great restaurants for me to list in Girdwood, so if you want more information about that, comment below. So you're wanting to see a glacier and you want to see it from a boat. The day trip option I would recommend is going a little bit further than Girdwood. You're headed to Portage Valley. Portage Valley is stunning, and you head back on the road and you stop at Portage Glacier Cruises. From there, you'll board a boat and it will take you around the corner to see the stunning glacier. In terms of boat rides, it's one of the more affordable ones because it's not very long in length. I believe it's about an hour. It's been a really long time since I've done it, but it's one of those that my friend was coming to visit and she wanted to get on the water in Alaska. And I said, well, this is the most affordable way for us to do it because it's a shorter cruise. You see the glacier and then you head back. So it definitely is a great day trip thing to do, and you still get to go along the beautiful Seward Highway to do it. So that is why this is on my list of things to do. If you're up for a longer day, you can extend on from Portage and head through the tunnel. This is North America's longest tunnel, so that's kind of cool in and of itself. And at the end of the tunnel, you end up in Whittier, Alaska. Something you need to know about the tunnel, you have to plan because it's only one way in and one way out. So they take cars on the half hour. So if you miss your time spot, say you're supposed to be there at 4:30 to drive through and you miss it, well, you're waiting until 5:30 until you can drive through. So definitely check the website and make your plan when heading through the tunnel. Once you're there really isn't all that much to do in Whittier. It's a pretty small town, but if you hit it on a pretty day, it's beautiful. And my favorite hike in all of Alaska is right there on the other side of the tunnel, and that's Portage Pass. It's a lot of bang for your buck. So it's a little bit steep, but it's not very long. And once you get to the top, you can explore and explore and explore. It seems like for days. I feel like there's a glacier over here. There's a glacier in the background. There's a waterfall over there. There's so much to see. So we like to spend a lot of time when we get to the top of Portage Pass. And you can see in these photos just how beautiful it is. So, I'm not saying it's a nothing hike. You do need to be, somewhat physically fit to do it. But it is definitely worth it. There's a great fish and chips place in Whittier. Like I said, there's not much else. There's an ice cream shop, a couple other restaurants and shops only open during the summer season, of course. And I should say with all of these hikes, you do want to check the mountains. If you see snow up there, you have to know that it's going to be muddy, wet, and or maybe snowy. So depending on how much snow we got in the winter, and how much sun we've gotten in the summer and what time of the summer you're coming, you really do need to pay attention to that and ask the locals when you're there and do your research before heading up to these mountains. For instance, Whittier gets way more weather and snow, so I wouldn't do Portage Pass until way late in June, maybe even later. It just depends on the year. So let's venture north. One of my favorite places to visit in the summer in Alaska is Hatcher's Pass, and we like to make day trips out there. Rivers winding through. It's so scenic. I feel like at every turn, it's a photo opportunity. What can you do there? Well, if you're wanting just a scenic drive, you could absolutely take the day, go to Hatcher Pass, and you can, depending on the season, so long as it's late enough in the summer, you can drive all the way through, and that pops you out at the end in Willow, Alaska, and then you can take the highway all the way back, so you don't have to go back the way you came through Hatcher Pass. There are lots of hikes, so you can stop. Some places you do have to pay $5, but this is another one of those very affordable, if not free, adventures to do. I recommend spending some time at Independence Mine. It's really, really cool. A relatively easy hike. If you want something harder, Reed Lakes is super popular. And I will say, depending on the hike, you may have to hike to get to the hike on what day it is, if it's a weekend, if it's a sunny day. I've had to walk half mile, 3/4 of a mile before getting to a trailhead in Hatcher Pass before. So just keep that in mind. If you're into blueberry picking, August and September are relatively the best months to look for blueberries and hackers. Again, it always depends on the season, but that's a really fun thing too, to find people on the mountain. If they're picking, maybe you want to follow them and see what they've got. I've gotten very, very lucky and had a lot of success in Hatcher Pass. All right, let's keep heading north. Do you want to get on a plane? Do you want to see Denali? Let's head to Talkeetna. Talkeetna is a very cute little hippie type town. The historic downtown has lots of really good eating and cute artsy shops. But definitely there are a number of helicopter and small plane opportunities that can either land you on a glacier or take you over to see Denali. I personally have never done them, but I have heard great things. It's the closest place I would recommend from Anchorage if that's the sort of thing you're wanting to see. And like I said, do your homework because there's more than one option, and I think you could have a lot of fun doing that in Talkeetna if you're wanting to get up in the air. One of the coolest experiences I can recommend that is affordable, in my opinion, for what you get is going to tour the Matanuska Glacier up close and personal with a Matanuska Glacier tour. So the only way to get up to the glacier is to actually go through this company, and I'll link them below. My family and I did it a few years back in the winter, and that's the cool thing about this company as well. They're open 365 days a year. So winter, summer, whenever it is that you're visiting, you can do this tour. Just dress appropriately, obviously. So it's about 2 hours north from Anchorage, well worth the drive. This is seriously my favorite drive in all of Alaska. I know the Seward Highway is hard to beat. This is my favorite drive. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. So you do want to book it online. The tour itself is about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And so you want to get there early, but depending on the year, you either walk up to the glacier and then someone is there taking you through literally the cracks and crevices. If they deem it safe, you can do it. You don't have to. You could still just be up to it, but you can literally touch the ice. It's an amazing way to experience the glacier. The blues are just out of this world. So I highly, highly recommend it, especially if you haven't gotten to be up close to a glacier before. This is the way to do it. I know it seems like it may be a long day with a 2-hour drive each way, but it's, like I said, it's such a pretty drive. It just feels like it doesn't take that long, and you'll have these memories and these photos forever. Now, let's talk about cost. It's $150 per person, but kids are $30. But here's the kicker. If you are going with an Alaska resident, they can sponsor you up to 2 people for $60 only. So that's a killer deal. Go see the glacier and only spend $60. If you are an Alaska resident, so say you're new to Alaska, it's only $50 to see this glacier. So highly, highly recommend. Could not recommend more. Last but not least, are you wanting to get on the railroad in Alaska? So this could be a great option if you don't have a car, or if you just want someone to do the driving for you. You can get to a lot of the places I just mentioned on the Alaska Railroad, and yes, in less than the 24-hour period. So you may start your day early. A lot of times what they do is so there's one that can leave from Anchorage that'll take you to Talkeetna, and then they give you 5 hours in Talkeetna, and then you come back. So yes, it's a long day, but someone's doing the driving for you, and you just went on your beautiful helicopter tour, and now you're back in Anchorage, Alaska. They also have stops from Anchorage that will take you to Girdwood. They have stops that will take you to Portage Valley and to Whittier, and let you have time, a few hours, if not 5, I think, in Whittier and then back. So check the schedule for the Alaska Railroad. It's quite extensive. There's so many different ways you can make it work for you and make it be a really, really adventurous day. So yes, it is possible to ride the Alaska Railroad if you only have 24 hours in Alaska and still get to stop and experience things along the way. In fact, one of our homeschool field trips that we did a year back was we drove to Talkeetna, took the hurricane turn train from Talkeetna out to the turn stop, saw these amazing views you see here, and then came back. And you have the option of driving back to Talkeetna. My family, we chose to make it a weekend and camp in Talkeetna, which was really fun. So many things that you can do. So the Alaska Railroad is well known. It's beautiful. It runs I believe it does run year round, but definitely they amp up their trips in the summer. You do want to make reservations, so make your plan. All right, that does it for me. I've given you my top 10 recommendations of what I would do if I had 24 hours in Alaska. A lot of these things are the things I do when people come up to visit, or they're just honestly on a beautiful day. I take the family, I say, hey, this is what we're going to do, because you just really can't go wrong. So if you have any deeper questions, please let me know what you would like to know more about, especially related to any of these things, or if there's other topics of Alaska that you would like me to cover. Again, whether you're planning a trip, just about to move here, just got here, I want to be your girl. So take this advice from a local and like and subscribe so you don't miss my new videos that I'm going to be posting weekly. I'll see you in the next one.